Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Autistic, your comedian's guide to autism. I'm one of your hosts, and my name is Kirk Smith, and here's my co-host and buddy.
Graham K. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's
Boom.
been a couple weeks, but we're doing it. We're at least going to do 2 episodes a month right
I
now. We're
really
both
want to do
very busy.
4. I know. I
Kirk
really
wants to
would
do
like to do
4.
4.
Well,
It's
we'll
hard though.
see.
We're
We'll
both
see.
traveling a lot, and it's a
I'm
lot
on
of
the
travel
road
days.
10 weekends in a row, going through a breakup, so I booked myself way too much work.
Smart.
Just trying to
Keep that little
distract
mind
myself
busy.
from my life.
Yeah.
And my therapist says I need to take time for myself, and I can't escape feelings.
Sounds like
Turns
a
out,
wussy. Just work.
yeah,
I'm joking.
that's what I called him. Well, you would never make it as a 1950s dad, would you? Yeah. So busy, but happy to talk to you. Happy to reconnect with the autistics. You guys listening, we appreciate you guys listening as always. Kirk, what's new with you? How's JJ doing?
JJ's good. We've had a little how do I say this delicately? An update with his
His
head butting, head butting, where he likes to touch heads with his aides, and
Okay.
one of the aides didn't like it, and he's twice your size, and so there's a bit of a kerfuffle, and so it's been
Oh, no.
a challenging couple weeks. You know, as a father, you
Oh,
feel
man.
very dumb, and
Why do you feel dumb?
just because you're not there. But my mom, I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, "Yeah, but you couldn't have done anything anyway. You couldn't have fixed it anyway." So,
Yeah, if he
things
was
like this
down the
happen whether
street
you're
at
there or
in
not.
a facility in Brooklyn, you wouldn't be able to do anything.
Exactly. So you
You're
just feel
also
as
a
a
road
parent,
comedian. That's how you make your living is on a ship.
yeah,
It's
part of
like,
this Filipino Navy out here. Yeah, it's true.
yeah, but if you think about it, even if you had him in Brooklyn, you wouldn't be able to see him that much because
Yeah.
of the nature of your job. So it's just, that's what they
Well, and
get
the
paid
nature of
for.
where he's at in
They
his
get
life, he's
paid the
not.
big bucks for a reason. It's a tough job, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry they're going through. That's scary for her.
Yeah, of course.
Getting headbutt by a big guy,
At your
big Turkish
job.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a hard one. I connected with a lot of
Is he
uh,
upset?
the day it happened. He was a little upset, and was like, he's got a little scratch on his nose. Don't mention he's really upset about it, and so
Oh.
he seemed a little upset about it, and
Oh.
yeah, so it was a tough one. It was a tough one. It just makes you
Sweet
feel,
boy.
as a dad, you want to protect your kid, and yeah, so.
Yeah.
And he's nonverbal, so it's a tough one, man. It was a tough one. I did meet with or not meet. I met a couple after a show on a cruise ship here, telling about their son, and they were, when I talk about, one of my jokes I have is like my buddies bragging about, my kid's on the honor roll, and I go, well, my kid stopped peeing. I get jealous, and I go, well, my kid stopped peeing in the closet, except for your house. And they were like, oh, yeah, my son just started. Do you have any advice? And then I just feel like, oh, yeah, we're all in this together, and I don't have any advice. I was like, we used to take him before he goes to bed and try to make him go pee and like make him, sit there until he'd go. But all that to say, yeah, I'm not alone. There's a lot of us going through similar things with the violence and the incontinence and all that stuff. So not alone.
Well, yeah, that is. You're definitely not alone. I think it's the one thing we do with this podcast is at least I can guarantee the one thing this podcast does do is let people know they're not alone. Sometimes
Yeah,
it
we're all
feels
going
like
through
we're.
some similar version of this.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes doing a podcast like this, you feel like, I mean, I know we have downloads and you can see it when you see it on the website service we use, but sometimes you feel like you're Will Smith in I Am Legend. Just when the zombies have taken over the world and you're just like, no one's out there. It's
Yeah,
empty,
just
and you're just talking into a
performing into the
radio.
abyss.
Yeah, he just talks into the radio. He goes, "Is anybody out there?" He never hears anything back.
Yeah.
But we get people. Then people message us and they tell us that
Yep.
they feel a sense of community, and you're not alone
The vi-
either. You're not
the
alone
violence
either.
one is tough for me because you want to protect your son, and then but also um, he is the one who knocks. He's the one inciting the violence. So it's tough because, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's the one that's bigger and he's the one that's initiating the contact, and so it's not like. So the whole thing just makes me feel not great. So,
Yeah. Well, he
but
will.
yeah,
He's shown consistently in the past couple years the ability to learn and change. So
grow. Yeah,
yeah, I think he'll grow. It might take him longer, but he'll than you'd want, but he'll grow. And he's a good kid. He doesn't want to hurt anybody.
no, I don't think
You know?
none of it's intentional. He gets
No.
over anxious and excited and trying to search for that connection. I feel like he
Yeah.
uses the physicality to search for an emotional connection, but
Right. Interesting.
like a lot of single men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So you get it, Graham.
I do
Just
a
joking.
little bit.
Just joking. Just joking. How's little Peter Parker Spider Man? Little, he's like 230, 6'2". But how's Peter doing?
He's doing okay. He's calling me a lot more lately, which is good, I guess. I've been on the road a lot, so I haven't been able to answer, so I feel bad. But I was just on a tour bus for 4 days with Nate Bargatze and another comedian, Julian McCullough, and then there's the tour manager, the workout guy who like helps. He's kind of an assistant as well that tours with them, and there's the merch. There's like a bunch of people anyway on the bus, is what I'm trying to say. I'm sleeping
Takes
on
a
a bus with
team,
like,
honestly, for a tour like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
for a big tour. So there's like 7
Yeah.
people on this bus, and um, Peter calls, and I can't hang up on him. I can't not answer every single time. So I just started answering periodically when it was okay, and people just started to get to know Pete on the tour. He became part of the tour, and
That's
it was
cute.
fun. Yeah, everyone loves his Simpsons impressions, and I have a joke about how he wants to do, well, how we pretend we're Bert and Ernie every morning, and how I have another joke about how he does Apu from The Simpsons, even though I wish he would not do it because it's racist,
Yeah.
and he did he sure enough did both those things. So it's like nice that people can see that it's not just it's like I'm talking about real stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's really good at impressions. Julian was like, that's the best Mo I've ever heard from The Simpsons, Mo Sizlak.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, and yeah, so he's doing pretty well. We talked about him coming to New York. He actually wants to come now. He wants to come in
Really?
the summer or yeah, or the fall. Um,
I think he'd
so
melt
I
in
don't
the
know.
summer. Yeah, maybe in the fall.
Yeah, yeah.
August
So
is
we're
hot in New
figuring it
York.
out. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do it. Like, um, yeah, I don't
Graham
know.
Boys road trip, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking of buying a car, so maybe I'll drive him up and drive him down. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a
Speaking of
lot,
old
though.
man moves, I like it. It's a lot of
That's
driving. What is that?
yeah.
15 hours? What is
That's
that?
it's going to be a total of well, it's 7 hours there, 7 hours back, and do that
Yeah.
twice. So that's 28
So
hours.
15. Oh, wait. Oh, you'd have to do it twice, of course. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, maybe I
Right,
won't do
of
that.
course.
Yeah, I guess Pete's not coming to New York. Um, Like it's just I think he can take a flight. I think he could.
It could be
It's
you
just
guys could do a
as long as there's no
Greyhound like
transfer, he should be okay. No, he can't do
Midnight
Greyhound.
Cowboy. I mean, I think you'd be the John Voight character, you sexy man, and then he could be the other guy,
Thanks,
the Dustin Hoffman character.
Dustin Hoffman. That, yeah.
Great movie, very dark, very
Well,
dark.
yeah, I think Dustin Hoffman dies in the Greyhound bus, so maybe not the best example. But
You don't have to give away the ending. Spoiler alert.
I mean,
I,
it's
for,
literally been
I
out
forgot.
for 50
I forgot he
years.
does die. Yeah, he does
Yeah,
die in that.
50
Sure, I forgot
years.
about that.
Dustin
Speaking of,
Hoffman went to
go
a
ahead.
restaurant I used to wait tables at 15 years ago. Nice guy, really nice guy. He
Huh?
had took pictures with all the staff.
He's had a storied
Yeah,
career. That guy, amazing career.
sure
Yeah.
has. And then yeah,
There's a great
and he was
little
served by me.
dur- like in a dance off, or like just handed him his food. What do you mean?
We did a dance off. Yeah, I said you got served, and then I was fired immediately. Um,
Graham,
yeah.
we've talked to you about this.
hmm
There's a great at the height
Um,
of Seinfeld's popularity. There's a great parody of Midnight Cowboy at the end with Kramer and Jerry on a bus, and they play the song. It's great. People
oh,
keep
it's funny.
talking about it. Oh, it's great. Anyway,
Anywho,
um,
yeah, I guess he would be autistic. That character, if they remade the movie, right?
which one?
I don't know. Dustin Hoffman, not John Voight.
Well, John
Eh,
Voight has got some complicated, because he's burying that trauma, and then he's also
Oh yeah.
not super self-aware about what's happening. And I think there's a scene where he's trying to be a hustler and he gets hustled. Like he's
Oh
trying to
yeah.
charge somebody for his services, and then he ends up paying her. He pays this old lady. You're like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
He's not the most
um,
street savvy character. Yeah.
should we stop talking about a 50-year-old movie and
Let's stop
do
talking about it.
in the
Listen,
news?
usually it's basketball. Let's talk about it in the news. This is better.
Yeah. So this one is from our old pals at Spectrum News. This one is by Angie Voiles Askham. And it's titled Mind Blowing Study Upends Conventional Wisdom on Oxytocin. Prairie voles, engineered to carry faulty receptors for oxytocin, still form pair bonds and nurture their young, according to a study published today in Neuron. The findings, the culmination of 13 years of inquiry, call into question the hormone's long presumed critical role in promoting social behavior, the researchers say. Is your mind blown, Kirk? Because mine
I think
is.
it's interesting because we've talked about this. We've talked about this a couple times. I think about
Yeah.
they're still trying to the other article we could have gone with is about how the autism numbers are up again. So the numbers keep growing, and they still don't know a lot of what's causing it, or even how to spot it. Or it's just very
Right.
interesting. I think.
We need to rethink on the centrality of oxytocin signaling, says co-lead researcher Nireo Shah, professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Stanford University in California. Oxytocin and the related neuropeptide vasopressin, vasopressin rose to prominence in the 1990s and
What
early
is happening?
2000s. This is a tough one, man. All right, I
This
want
is
to
the
hear
one
it
you
from you.
chose, but continue.
I know, but man, I thought I could do it. Rose to prominence in the 90s and early 2000s through research on prairie voles, rodents that form strong social bonds with their partners and pups, compared with the more promiscuous meadow and montane voles. The monogamous prairie and pine voles have a higher density of oxytocin binding in specific brain regions, including the nucleus accumbens, boosting the expression of the receptors. There increases pair bonding behaviors in prairie voles, whereas blocking it limits those behaviors, according to previous studies. The findings laid the groundwork for critical trials of oxytocin to boost social functioning in autistic people, which have been equ- equivocal. The new study may point to why Shah and his colleagues say when they engineered three lines of prairie voles to carry mutations in the oxytocin receptor gene, none of the animals showed a change in their pair bonding or parental behaviors, suggesting that pathways other than oxytocin signaling serve to strengthen social bonds. It's kind of mind blowing in a way, says Larry Young, director of the Center for Translational Social Neuroscience at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, who pioneered some of the early studies of oxytocin in voles, but was not involved in the new work. The new findings do not invalidate past work showing that oxytocin is critical for pair bonding or its potential for treating autism, he says. But they do suggest that animals born without the capacity for oxytocin signaling compensate with other mechanisms. He seeds the seeds of the new study were planted a long time ago, Shah says, back when he was a graduate teaching assistant in the mid 90s. The professor leading that undergraduate course expressed skepticism that a single neuropeptide such as oxytocin could wield such control over something as complex as mammalian social behavior, and they stressed the importance of using complementary approaches for testing the hypothesis, Shah says, ideas that eventually shaped the focus of his own lab. He began developing tools to study how genetic changes affect prairie voles' social behaviors. After the advent of CRISP gene editing in 2012, he and his colleagues adapted the tool for use in prairie voles and inserted three different mutations individually into the mammal's oxytocin receptor gene to disrupt its function. The indirect the edited voles had no discernible oxytocin binding through their brain. Post mortem analysis of the mammal's brain tissue revealed. Yet the voles still spent typical amounts of time um, huddling with their partners and acted aggressively toward other members of the opposite sex, both measures of the pair boundaries. Mice lacking oxytocin receptors do not retrieve and return straying pups to their nest, a past study showed. But Shaw's edited prairie voles kept their pups close and groomed them just as much as wild type animals do. Some of the female animals did have trouble nursing their young, however, suggesting that oxytocin signaling is important for the particular behavior. But for the other social functions through they rely on oxytocin signaling, the results suggest that it ain't that, Shaw says. Um, one pretty hip guy. One
Very
caveat is that
cavalier in his science.
yeah, three lines of mutants through similar to wild type animals in their pair bonding behaviors do show some individual differences, says Limery Sikic, associate consulting professor of psychiatry and behavioral science at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, who was not involved in this study. That suggests that the engineered mutations may not fully block oxytocin signaling, she says, or that they lead to other differences between the groups. But lack of oxytocin binding in the animal brains does suggest that the mutations cause a loss of function, Shah says, and he and his colleagues theorize that the differences may stem from the natural variation that exists in these complex behaviors due to the fact that the voles are bred from wild animals. So even though they all harbor mutant oxytocin receptors, other genetic background components after their behaviors subtly and could contribute to these differences, he says. Um, Let me scroll down. Okay. Most previous research into oxytocin role in social bonding of prairie voles has involved drugs or molecular manipulations that activate or block the oxytocin receptor in adult animals, but those approaches cannot model how inherited or de novo mutations in receptor affect the brain development. The new findings highlights the importance of understanding how genetic changes affect the brain from its earliest moments, says co-lead researcher uh, Devon Manoli, assistant professor of psychiatry at the University of California, San Francisco. And the crisp prairie voles enabled researchers to ask what is happening in the context of different clinical populations, he says. For now, the implications for clinical trials of oxytocin are unclear. The new results suggest that oxytocin receptors are not the ideal target to manipulate social behavior overall, Manoli says, because there's no evidence that people with autism are born without oxytocin receptors. Young disagrees that and says that past studies in adult animals born with intact oxytocin receptors showed that oxytocin receptor signaling is critical for social learning and pair bonding. Young likens having oxytocin receptors from birth to orchestra that always practiced with a conductor. Without one, they may struggle to play together. A street band, on the other hand, that never learned to rely on a conductor can get along fine without one, like the crisp edited prairie voles. It finds um, a way to compensate. That one paragraph helped me understand the entire thing. I had no idea what I was reading until then.
We should just read that.
Yeah, Manoli and Shaw plan to continue studying the engineered voles to explore what the compensation may be, but they're not convinced that the orchestra requires a conductor at all. Early on, Shaw says there are no conductors. People just read the scores and played them. Regardless, he says, it could be that there are multiple players and oxytocin is one of them. Well, Kirk, what do you think?
You did it. You
Oh, I
read it
know.
very well. I think it's
Thank you.
interesting. Like I said, I think it's just what we need. More science. You got to keep looking into the connections and what's missing. Basically, I mean, I don't think there'll ever be a pill that someone takes, but it would be amazing if they figured out, it's all you needed was this little oxytocin in your brain. You take this and it good.
Yeah, put someone in the CRISPR.
Yeah. Well, the
And then they
CRISPR,
have
the
oxytocin.
gene manipulation thing is like, I think it's only we've talked about this before, like new people, right? So like that's when you're manipulating somebody to make a new person, you want them to be tall and whatever, brown eyed, and yeah, that's what the CRISPR's for. But
No.
that stuff scares me a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But but as a way to use it as a way to test to see what's missing or what could help someone with autism, make those connections that aren't otherwise happening is great. We did it. Another episode. My alarm went off. That means it's time to get up and get prepared for my
Okay.
show.
I'm glad you're up. Well, as always, folks, follow me if you don't already at Mr. Graham K on Instagram and Twitter, or follow me on Facebook, or TikTok me if you're one of those Gen Z types with your TikToks.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, Graham K. I got my new website is firing on all cylinders. You could sign up.
Ooh.
You can sign up for my email list, so I'll shoot you an email if I'm ever in your town, and you get to know and buy tickets. I'm on tour a lot. I'm on tour a lot this year, so it's I'm gonna buy a house one day. I think.
I like
I'm
it.
gonna be in Chattanooga. Chattanooga, choo choo! February 3rd and 4th. I'm gonna be doing a Royal Caribbean cruise the week after. Then I'm gonna be in
Hey.
the Comedy Nest in
You're back in
Montreal.
the high seas, huh?
Um, yep. I'm calling this tour the Poutine and Barbecue Tour.
Ooh, I like it.
And then I'm going to be in Houston the following week, February 24, 25. So Chattanooga, Montreal, and Houston. And that will conclude my 10-week in a row. 10-week in a row of being on the road. And I will be so sleepy.
Worth it. You'll
Anyway.
buy a house.
Yeah.
Guys, you could do me a
I
favor
don't know
and
when.
add me on Facebook. That's my big push. I'm not doing Twitter
He's
or
off Twitter.
Tinder. Facebook.
He's off Tinder.
Kirk Smith Comedy.
Banned from both.
Just give me a little like for the same reason, honestly, which is not good. Posting Vax stuff. No, I'm joking. Yeah, if you give me a like on Facebook, that'd be great. And I am in New York City, February 11th at the Grizzly Pear. You can buy tickets. I'm trying to put together a little
big
tour
show.
myself. Yeah, sorry about that interruption. I am on a ship, and that was my flights for tomorrow. Nothing like last minute. Yeah, February 11th. If you didn't already catch that, come out and see me. I'm putting together a little tour. This would help me a lot. If you know somebody in New York, if you would send them a link to my little show. It's on my Instagram. It's on my Facebook. There's a tiny URL that you can click on and get tickets. It would really help me out a lot, and I'd appreciate that. As always, we'd love a little rate review on iTunes. What'd I miss, Graham?
That's it.
That's it. Great. Guys, have a great week. You can do it.